country.
Well, I've seen Iran and Ukraine's NATO facility.
And we are still alive, as it looks like. Not for, I don't know for how long, but we're still here. Welcome, everybody, to another show of the Unlimited Intelligence here on the Press of Mass Destruction. Larry Johnson, my good friend, once again with us. How are you doing, man?
Boy, you're being presumptuous. Good friend? Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
my terrible friend.
The people like you, Nima. I think I got a thing for Brazilians, and then Russia. This is the only positive side of these damn stupid wars, both in Ukraine and in the Middle East. Is I've made a whole new network of friends. So, thank you for the compliment.
It's always a great pleasure to have you here, and always a great pleasure to talk to you. Looking forward for a day that we go perhaps together to Moscow and we have that drink together.
Yeah, listen, Moscow is just an amazing city, beautiful city. It's a symbol of what the rest of the world could be if it spent its money on its people as opposed to war. Compare. There's not a city in the United States that can compare in terms of grandeur, beauty, cleanliness to what you see in Moscow. And frankly, go to China, Shanghai, similar thing. The United States is really has become something of a shithole in several places. And the inner cities of some of these cities are, like Chicago, New York City, in Oakland, California. They're downright dangerous. Philadelphia. So you can go, but you got to go armed with a armed convoy of guards, maybe.
Yeah, I have a friend that had a very interesting Brazilian guy that looked to me and said, "Look, first time Rio de Janeiro. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, so first time in my life that I felt unsafe. It was on somewhere in Texas. I don't know exactly the exactly part. Somewhere in Texas. Going out at night, someone just stopped the car and said, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Go back to your hotel."
Yeah.
That's
coming out of Rio. Rio's got a reputation for, get up into the favelas. It can be a little sketchy if you're for an outsider. They operate like organized crime families that, if you're part of the crew, you're okay. But if you're not, you may have a short lifespan.
As someone from Rio de Janeiro, my only tip is that if you got mistaken and enter a favela, and someone stop you, just say that you're looking to buy some shit.
Yeah.
Then you're good.
Yeah.
Clients are welcome. It doesn't matter. You don't have to use it later. Just buy it and get the hell out.
Yep.
Man,
just in the microphone there.
Yeah, man. The last week it's been so troubling because our last talk was so bleak and so I don't even know. It was not even fun to do that show. It's always fun to have conversation with you, but in the end I felt like, oh shit, we're in trouble. And then we have a week of crazy shit happening.
Yeah,
really
it's
crazy
even worse.
What the hell is going on now?
I don't know who said it, but it's a great line. Donald Trump has proposed is circulating a letter that nominates him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Giving Donald Trump a Nobel Peace Prize for, quote, bringing peace to the Middle East would be like rewarding an arsonist who set his own house on fire for putting out the fire. It's like, really? I mean, this was Trump alone could have prevented this entire war that started on June 13th from happening. So here we are 11 days later, and what has been accomplished? Well, prior to June 13th, Iran was a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors to inspect the nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan. Where are we today? Well, that uranium, the enriched uranium that was at those facilities, has disappeared. And despite Donald Trump's claims that we've obliterated, we've destroyed it, that no such thing happened. Just the opposite. The Iranians, whether it was because of a heads up from the United States or a heads up from Russia and Chinese intelligence, or their own intelligence, they got the trucks to those facilities. They loaded up the enriched uranium and hauled it off to another site that nobody knows where. Or maybe somebody in the intelligence community has an idea, but it's not at any identified facility. And the Iranian parliament is taking the first steps to withdraw from the allowing IAEA inspections. Why? Well, because the International Atomic Energy Agency has been used by CIA, MI6, probably Mossad, for spying on Iran. And Iran said, okay, no. So you've gone from a situation where you at least had some measure of international controls and Iran's willingness to accept those measures, to now Iran walking away from it and says, screw you, we're not going to do that anymore. So in contrast to Donald Trump's specious claim that he's destroyed Iran's uranium enrichment program, just the opposite has happened. And I believe there are elements within the Iranian military and intelligence community arguing that to Ayatollah Khamenei, look, we understand your religious reasons for not wanting us to build a nuke, but just look around and realize we've been attacked because we didn't have a nuke. We've been trying to play and cooperate all along. And instead of rewarding our cooperation, we've been punished. We've had some of our key generals and key scientists murdered. So it's now time to build the bomb. And they may very well do so. Now, they'll do so probably over the objections of Russia and perhaps China, but I think the Russians and Chinese also understand that, hey, the West pushed them into this. So, Trump is, Trump's intervention, and a lot of yesterday with claiming that he got the ceasefire, I don't believe that for a minute, because what happened here is Israel was in big, big trouble. Now, I'm not suggesting that Israel didn't inflict some significant damage on Iran. They did. But the more important point is that you compare the size of Iran to the size of Ukraine. Iran is 3 times the size, physical size of Ukraine, and 3 times the population size of Ukraine. Then look at the amount of firepower, bombs, missiles, both ballistic and cruise missiles, that Russia has fired at Ukraine over the last 3+ years. And that has not yet forced the collapse of Ukraine. It's heading in that direction, but it's just to point out that when you've got a country the size of Ukraine, that, yeah, there could be a lot of explosions, a lot of buildings destroyed and such, but, even somebody is with a physical size of Russia's Air Force and Army, it means Ukraine can absorb damage for quite a bit of time. Same principle applies with Israel to Iran. Israel's much, much smaller in terms of its military force compared to Russia. And so therefore, yeah, it inflicted some damage, but it's limited in what damage it can inflict. But that's not the case. So, like they can attack 6 international airports in Iran. Well, Iran still got some other airports. All Iran has to do is attack one Ben Gurion airport. And they were also attacking the military airports at Nevatim, and I forget the other couple of bases, but Israel's censors clamped down, so there was absolutely no information coming out, and Israel could pretend, oh, they haven't hit us, nothing happened here. Nonsense. The Iranians shut down the one of the 2 ports that Israel had, and they also actually attacked the second port, Ashdod, yesterday or the day before. So effectively, the 2 ports that Israel had for receiving goods, food, oil, was shut off. Iran damaged the oil refinery. I don't know if they completely destroyed it, but they certainly damaged it. And they hit military headquarters, intelligence unit 8200, Mossad headquarters, the defense ministry. And they also hit some key buildings with Israeli military personnel. Israel could not sustain this. And Israel, at the same time, was firing very expensive let's call it counter battery missiles against incoming missiles. So let's say the average Iranian missile cost maybe $1 million. Israel was spending at least $6 to $12 million with each of the missiles it fired back. And they didn't have unlimited production. They have very limited production of those missiles. So this was Israel. I think Trump actually intervened to try to save Israel, because if this went on for another week, 2 weeks, the very survival of Israel would have been in question.
Perhaps that is the Nobel Prize worse for Trump, right? Bringing peace to the Middle East by destroying Israel. I don't know. Perhaps it's
that
an
was
idea.
the unintended consequence.
The unintended consequence.
Well, that's why, again, I blame Trump for this, because on day one of the start of the attack, when, Israel hit Iran with a decapitation, they had they set up assassination squads. They targeted a number of specific individuals, a wildly successful operation. They did a cyber attack was launched with the help of the United States. And that cyber attack disabled the air defense systems and the radar network that Iran had installed. Now, the plan was from the Israeli-U.S. side that this would disabled Iran for at least a week. The Russians intervened very quickly, working with Iranian technicians. System was back up and running within 10 hours. That's according to Pepe Escobar and sources he had in Moscow. So that was unexpected. And then same day, Iran unleashed a missile barrage, and we saw very quickly that while Iran's air defense system sucked, so did Israel's. And their so-called Iron Dome and David Sling and Patriot and THAAD didn't work. Initially they were doing their Baghdad Bob routine of, oh yeah, we shot them all down. But, you could still see the explosions hitting the ground and buildings getting blown up. We've got a temporary ceasefire. Now, personally, I don't think it's going to hold. But, the situation has now changed decidedly and dramatically in Iran's favor. It turns out, according to Vladimir Putin, that Russia had offered the Iranians a defense pact. And the Iranians, let's call it the liberal element, the Pezeshkians, had rejected it. No, we don't need that. But we want to have a security arrangement with you, but we don't need you to necessarily have our back. Foreign Minister Arakchi was in Moscow yesterday. He hand-carried a letter from the Ayatollah Khamenei to Vladimir Putin. Don't know what that letter said, but my guess is that Iran has had some second thoughts. about wanting to have a defense relationship with Russia. I think, and look at it from Iran's standpoint, because again, they naively believed, hey, all I've got to do, they remind me of the baker from the movie Godfather, at the opening scene where he's in asking the Godfather now to go, kill these two guys that had beaten and raped his daughter. And he says, I know I'm a law-abiding person. I've followed the rules. I've obeyed the Constitution, and they betrayed me. Well, here's Iran. They signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty Agreement. They opened all of their facilities to these inspections by the IAEA. They were showing that, they were enriching up to 60%, but that was to, so that the West knew they were enriching. So let's go back to the deal that we cut with JCPOA, which Trump walked away from. And now, despite all of their cooperation, all of their attempts to appease the West, what happened? They got raped. And they're not happy about that. Go ahead.
They got Assad.
Yeah.
Or
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi. Almost Gaddafi. They still didn't get the steel enema that Gaddafi suffered.
Yeah.
So I suspect they've gone back to Russia now and said, okay, we need your help. Now, both Russia and China played an important role behind the scenes here, and of getting this ceasefire negotiated. And I wouldn't be surprised if Putin had a conversation with Netanyahu that went along the lines of something like, Bibi, here's your choice. Agree to this ceasefire now. Stop your attacks on Iran. Or else we'll ensure that Iran can continue its attacks on you, and we will provide them immediately with air defense capabilities so that your planes will no longer be able to operate inside Iran, and you'll be naked. Your call. Now, I think what's going to happen now, though, is Russia is going to accelerate, because what we found out, I had assumed last October when Iran was successful on October 27th in shooting down a lot of the Israeli missiles. But this time, I think as a result of what happened in October, Israel's intelligence collection developed countermeasures that they were able to now defeat Iran's system. Russia apparently had offered Iran air defense capabilities. Iran refused, but Russia did deploy an S-400 system to the Bushehr nuclear power plant, and notice that was never attacked, and it was safe. And plus, there were 200 Russians there, and Putin made a point: we're not, we're not withdrawing them; they're staying. And basically, you harm a hair on their head, then you've attacked us. You've got a bigger problem. So even Israel stayed away from that. So what we're seeing, Trump's declaring victory. This is like he did with the Houthis. We won. They capitulated. Let's get out of here. That's what's going on. And but if you watch American media, man, God, the celebrations are just all, oh God, Trump is so good. Whatever positive feelings or hopes I had for Donald Trump, those are gone completely. I think the man is an incompetent. I think the man is dangerous. But it's a chain of fools we've had. Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton. Good God, it's like a Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey clown car. Each more bizarre and twisted than the previous one.
It's amazing. Very interesting because when I was looking at this Arakshi visit to Moscow, the timing was actually perfect timing to the attacks from Iran to Qatar yesterday, more or less. Perhaps hours after Arakshi left the meeting with Putin, there was this attack in Qatar. The safe face attack because it was
Well, you understand that was scripted in advance, okay?
yeah.
And I know, I've seen this. Um, this is in some ways a replay of 2017, 2018, when Western intelligence staged chemical weapons attacks, their false flag attacks, to blame on the Assad regime to justify a military attack against Assad. And at the time, Trump struck, two different, one in 2017, one in 2018, but each time, still with the same chest thumping, America's the strongest, we're the best. But what really happened behind the scenes is the United States was in daily communication with the Russian general staff, and they called him up and said, "Hey, this is what we're getting prepared to do. This is the target. This is what we're going to use as ammunition or ordnance. This is what time the attack's going to take place." So, the Russians and Syria and the Russians then would tell the Syrians, and everybody took evasive action, got out of the way, and the United States launched a $150 million fireworks show. Blew up a bunch of sand, created some instant glass, and killed some spiders, desert spiders. That was it. Now, but again, and the rest of the world pretended that, oh man, that Trump boy, he's a mighty powerful son of a bitch. Yeah, he's just a son of a bitch. He's not powerful, and this is all kabuki theater. It was staged, scripted. And that's what we saw yesterday. So we don't, I don't have, unfortunately, access to all the behind the scenes conversations, but I guarantee you Iran was talking with Russia and with China. I did make the prediction that Iran was not going to close the Straits of Hormuz for the simple reason that 80% of that oil goes to Asia. And right now, one of the consequences of Israel's attack, unprovoked attack, followed by the United States' unprovoked attack, was to engender greater sympathy among the global South and countries throughout Asia. Now, let's even go back to the U.S. attack on Sunday morning. It was Sunday morning, Iran time, Saturday night, U.S. time, on the 3 nuclear sites that, for Trump, we obliterated them, we destroyed them. Again, Iran knew in advance the attacks were coming. They even stood down. They didn't even turn on their air defense systems. They didn't even try to attack and shoot down a U.S. aircraft.
If indeed there was some B2s on the operations.
Yeah. So it was, this was sort of let the U.S., let them get this out of their system, let them have their symbolic strike, so Trump could do his victory dance and pretend to be a big man, but then you can strike back, but you're going to strike an empty target, and then we'll declare a ceasefire, and you can get your last licks in. And I don't know, did you see Donald Trump's remarks today?
Yeah, I saw some. I was about to get there because the interesting part to me is that all this looks like kabuki theater. Perfect. For me, it was very clear. Oh yeah, Donald Trump is screaming, and we are number one.
Did you see him use the F word? He dropped an F bomb on television.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, he said, you
can drop the F bomb here.
Yeah, well, let me give me a second here. Let me pull this up.
While
He-
you're searching this,
yeah,
go ahead.
here it is. He said, you know, they're fucking insane, something like that. I mean, he used with respect to Israel, he was yelling at Israel, and
At Israel, not at Iran.
correct. Well,
Uh-huh.
both, but primarily at Israel, which is yeah. He says, "quote They don't know what the fuck they're doing." He just said that with respect to Israel and Iran, and he was specifically critical of Israel, which is sort of remarkable.
Yeah,
So
what I saw was the Truth Social, where he puts that big letters as screaming bitch. You
yeah,
just don't drop those bombs on Iran. Stop that. You cannot do that. That's how I hear it in my mind when I read it. With big letters.
yeah.
And the also it was very interesting yesterday that he lashed out on Medvedev. Medvedev acts like a mad dog, but it's Medvedev. Everybody expects him to do that.
Medvedev's sort of a Donald Trump type character, who in
Yeah.
terms of trolling, God, he loves to troll. He loves to troll Trump. Man, Trump takes the bait every time. It's like, dude, Medvedev is he's a professional troller, and so he's not a dummy.
Yeah, the thing I even wrote, I took a print of that and I sent to some friends and I say everything went according to the script. US attacked like Top Gun 2. We're number one. We destroy the nuclear facilities of Iran. We're so good. Woohoo! Pa, pa, pa. And then Iran shoots back at Qatar. Everybody's fine. All good. Donald Trump goes, oh, we're not going to retaliate that. They didn't get it. But he cannot keep his freaking mouth shut.
Yeah, no, I mean, Trump is, he's an unfortunately destructive force in politics. That's the nicest way to say it. So,
but do you think this is? Yeah, you just explained. This sounds pretty much like a big theater. But did the theater stop? Or
no, it's still it's still going to play out. It does not resolve. Israel continues to murder Palestinians. That goes on. But Israel's been hurt, and significantly hurt. They don't want to admit it, but they've been hurt. Otherwise, the word was that they were actually the ones initiated the plea. Okay, let's see if we can get a ceasefire going here. Now, personally, if I was in the Iranian government, I would have said no. We're gonna immediately issue an immediate plea to Russia and China: bring in your air defense systems, help us fend off these Israeli attacks, and then we're going to continue launching day after day attacks on Israel until not only does Israel surrender, but they stop the attacks in Gaza and the West Bank. I think it's unfortunate that Iran didn't do that. That's what I would have done if I was them. But that's me. And I think there was pressure on Iran to be the adult in the room as far as agreeing to a ceasefire, showing they had been wronged, but they were not acting irresponsibly. Now, that said, you found them being their attack on Qatar yesterday being condemned by the Qataris and the Turks and the Jordanians. Yeah, all these Western whores in the Arab and Muslim world that are just completely bought out and compromised by the United States. Instead of standing up and saying, Iran had every right to respond this way. The United States, we got a 60-year history of conducting illegal wars and causing death and destruction around the planet. We need to stop. We're the problem. And my American fellow citizens, they don't like the, they despise me for saying that, but so what? It is
I don't
what
think they
we've been
will
doing is
despise.
wrong. We got to stop.
I don't think they will despise you. I've been following Trump on Truth Social, which is his stuff.
Mhm.
He's the owner of the social. And for the first time, I saw a lot of comments, one after another. In general, you got those bots coming and say, "Yeah, America number one," all those things.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I saw a lot of comments, just pointing the straight truth. We don't want wars. We don't want this. We didn't vote for you for this.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson, he's not a stupid. He's not whatever you call him. He being, uh, 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 just putting you up. He got you elected together with Elon Musk. Got you elected. What the hell are you doing? I know there's some theater also there behind the scenes, but people are getting pissed off.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
getting,
Yeah. No, I mean, they didn't, well, but Trump didn't do himself any favors here. And, but it, it looks like so far it's being portrayed as a great U.S. success. I think it has actually domestically in the United States strengthened him a little bit, but it's really hurt him overseas. And I think instead of engendering great respect, I think Trump is increasingly viewed as a clown.
again, remember some time ago I told you about Brazil, moving a little bit. This time Luiz Inácio, condemned the American attacks on Iran.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is not usual as well. Like the Arab horrors. You would expect something like that from Brazil. It didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, good on him. And but there's also an element that you begin to see where the power base, where the shift is taking place, and while there's a lot of hope that Russia and China are being weakened and taken apart, it's just the opposite. But people don't want to hear that, so they'll indulge their old fantasy.
Yeah, Larry, we're almost, dude. I just wanted to ask you about Ukraine. I don't even see any news anymore about Ukraine. Not even the Ukrainian Telegram's channel are talking about Iran.
You asked me what country is that?
Oh, 404, country not found.
Ukraine. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I've heard something about it. Yeah, no, Russia is its offensive is accelerating. It's taking more and more territory each day. It just finished yesterday capturing the last place in the Lugansk republic that had a Ukrainian presence. That's now completely, Lugansk is completely free. Donetsk probably will be completely liberated by the end of July. And then at that point, you're going to see the Russians making great advances in Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, Kharkiv. So I think it's Ukraine. Ukraine's days are numbered. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it does not deserve more time than that for that question. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with Zelensky. Do you have bets in the United States on this
No,
topic?
it's not like the UK. UK does actually have betting pools. You can, bet on who's going to win an election, who's going to get killed in office, that kind of thing.
Oh,
And maybe so if you're Zelensky's odds of surviving to see 2026, not good. Not good.
not good. Pay very, very little money for that bet.
Right.
So I think I'm going to finish here today, Larry. Everybody, thank you very much for watching us now or later. Remember to like, share, subscribe to the channels, the IDM channel and Larry Johnson's. Follow Larry on sonar21.com. and also on Rumble and BitChute, since YouTube took down his channel. I don't know why. Anyway,
I'm a
uh,
hater. I'm a hater.
they say that. They say that.
Yeah.
What can we say about it?
I have the audacity to call out male bovine excrement when I see it. The MBE.
B. I have to make a meme for that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if I received just before finishing, I received a fantastic meme just yesterday. It was, a three-picture meme, all three, Trump and the Prince of Qatar, if I'm not mistaken, of Saudi Arabia. Sorry. And he's saying, "I'm gonna attack Iran because he has nuclear weapons." And then in the second one, "Why don't you attack Russia? Are you crazy? They have nuclear weapons."
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Well, have it. I think what we're going to see out of this is Iran may very well reverse course and build a nuke, and that Trump will have accomplished what no other president heretofore has, getting Iran to build a nuke. Way to go, Don.
well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Larry Johnson, my good friend. Thank you very much once again. Hope to see you next week. And
Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado.
muito obrigado. Muito obrigado. See
Okay,
you,
my
man.
friend.
Bye
Later.
bye.
Bye.
Later.